Hi book friends, this is Kat. Welcome back to my channel. So as you notice, we're in a different location. I'm actually sitting in front of my bookcase, and this is just one of the different ones that I have throughout the house, but I'm in the process of figuring out how I want to decorate it and like shelve my books. But on the very top, you can see those are books that I've just recently hauled or that I haven't read yet. And then the books right here that are backwards, they are on the other side. You can see the spines, but these are the books that I have read. And then the stack of books are for another video. So as you can see, I also am doing a 5-star predictions video. So in the beginning of the year, I had posted a video about my 5-star predictions, and I named 10 books that I had thought were 5-star. So I have the stack right here, and I'm going to explain what those books are and what I thought of them. And then towards the end of the video, I'm going to tell you 5 new books that I think will be 5-star predictions. And then at the end of the year, I would do a video that will talk about what I rated those. So I only chose 5 just because I know the end of the year is going to get pretty busy, and just a lot of the school year will start up again. So I'm impressed that I got through these 10 books, but it's just funny how they all found their way on my TBRs. So hopefully the 5 books wouldn't be too much for me. So without further ado, we're going to get started. And the first book that I am going to talk about is actually a book that I am currently reading. That is In Search of a Prince by Toni Shiloh. I am enjoying the book right now. I am almost halfway through this book, so I'm actually hoping that I'll have the rating down here so that way you guys will know. If not, if there's no rating down there, I'll just have to put it in at the end of the year. But so far, this book is honestly one that I'm enjoying a lot. So the book follows Brielle, who is this heir to the throne in Africa, and she is basically seeking God's will if this is the right thing for her to, be a part of the being able to lead this country, especially since this is the first time she's known about this small African island, and she's getting to know the people, the history, and it does say a lot about God and scripture and her looking towards him as her source. And so I do like that. It's not just a passing thought. And so it does give me Princess Diary vibes a lot, but it's just enough to where it's different. I like how it has similar vibes to it, but again, it is its own story. So I'm enjoying it so far. I think if it goes the rate that it is going, it would be a 5-star. So that is my little review off of that. And the cover is just stunning. So I do love that dress. All right, so the next book I'm going to talk about is Indivisible by Travis Thrasher. And this book is about a military family going through deployment and how this affects their marriage and the post-traumatic stress that came with the husband. And it's also scripturally based. I just gave this a 4.5 stars. I loved it. I didn't have it 5-star worthy just because there were just some parts that I felt were lagging, and just some parts seems like how the author wrote was it did have emotion to it, but it was also very like like factual, I guess, and to me didn't pull that much emotion in certain things. So like they would have like, oh, this happened, and you're like, oh man, that is emotional. But then we moved on to the next thing, and I just felt like it wasn't like super emotional, I guess, if that makes sense. But that was my only thing about it. I liked the pictures in the back. It is inspired by a true story, and I'm really curious about the movie. So if you're interested in anything military, marriage, faith in God, I mean, this also talks about that. And where is God in the midst of my pain, in war, in death? And I think this would be a good book for you if that interests you. All right, the next book I'm going to talk about is All That It Takes by Nicole Deese. I love Nicole Deese's characters. This is a companion novel from All That It Takes, and it's two siblings. They're both twins. This one follows the pastor brother, and it's his love story with one of the characters that you do meet earlier in the other book. But this story also addresses hard topics like what is forgiveness, or if you felt slighted by someone or something, how to handle that, misconceptions, and just like some deeper meanings. And I really appreciated about this book. There is also slow burn, I guess, romance, and it's more of like a friends to lovers, which I really do like that trope. So I also like how we get to know a little bit more about film industry, and I like how it talks about reaching out to the community, and it's just an all feel good book. I liked it better than the first book, but the first book was great too. So with that being said, this was also a 4.5 stars. It didn't get the full 5 stars, and I'm trying to remember why, because it was early on that I read this book. But I think what didn't give this a whole 5 stars was a little too long. I think I wish it had a little bit more like faith element to it. At some points, I felt like the female character was just a little annoying in some cases, but I did enjoy her character. But I think there were some scenarios that she was put in that I felt like I was a little like annoyed that she didn't want to ask for help. I guess so much of that independence. But other than that, it was a really good book, and I would really recommend that one. Okay, so the other book that I read, and we're going to get into my Tessa F. Shar pile, but I have Tessa F. Shar, The Hidden Prince. This was her newest release, and that cover is also very stunning. I love the Babylonian art. The hanging gardens are back here, so that's pretty cool. So I gave it a 4.5 stars, and that is very much a shocker because I usually don't give Tessa F. Shar books 4.5 stars. I usually give her 5, but this one was 4.5 stars. The book essentially was a little slow going. So this is a story about a girl named Karen. She is cousin to Daniel during their captivity in Babylon, and Karen is learning to be, I think, a scribe, or she's learning those ways, and then I can't give a lot of way, but essentially like meeting a hidden prince, right? So like I said earlier, it was a little bit slow going on some parts, and that's why I didn't get a full 5 stars. But again, I loved learning about the history. I love that how Tessa creates her characters. I like the romances that she puts in there, and the faith in God is also big in her books. If you haven't heard from my previous videos, With Tessa F. Shar books, I find normally my 4.5 stars are characters who aren't a specific person within the Bible. Like Karen is a cousin to Daniel, but she's not like an actual person we find in the Bible. So usually when Tessa writes books off of a person that is not in the Bible, like the name in the Bible, those books are usually 4.5 stars. Another one would be like Jewel of the Nile. That's also not a specific person. But when she does write books based off of certain people, like my favorite book, The Land of Silence, that is about the woman who bled for 12 years. We actually can find her history in the Bible. So people like that, or In a Field of Grace is about Ruth. Those are the books that I find that I tend to get 5 stars, if that makes any sort of sense. So this one, 4.5 stars, gorgeous. And that mustard color right here, if you can see that's a pretty color. I don't know. It doesn't look that great on the camera, but in my hand, something about that mustard and that blue is just really pretty. So since we're on the Tessa F. Shar roll, this one is Thief of Corinth by Tessa F. Shar. Again, this person does not follow a specific character within the Bible. However, this book is a 5 star. So that kind of shocked me. This book follows a girl named Eridne, I think is how you say the name. And she is living in Corinth. She escapes from her grandfather and mother. Her parents are split. And so she escapes from her mother's household or grandfather's household because she's just not treated well. And very kind of shocking in the beginning. It really shocked me how it kind of started, but I mean, it was very much attention grabbing. So she flees from there. So she goes with her dad, finds out that he is a thief, and so she takes up thievery. And it just goes on from there. And I loved it. You have, again, the romance is pretty interesting. There is a love triangle. Usually I don't like that, but it was very well captivating the entire time. The ending surprised me, almost had me in tears. I love, again, the historical part of it, as well as the script, like the Christian fiction part of it. You meet Paul, you get to hear about the Greek games, and there are a lot more cameos of previous books from previous characters, which are exciting. So you get to meet someone in one of Tessa's other books in this book. So I'm excited again that I found another 5-star read from Tessa. The last Tessa of Shar book that I have is Bread of Angels. This one follows Lydia. If you know Lydia within the Bible, she is that woman who is famous for her purple dye. And this one also had a really intriguing storyline. She is basically having to leave her home to go to Philippi because of what has been happening to her father and his business in their previous home, or where they previously lived. And this talks about that forgiveness. And again, you see different people in Tessa's previous books within this book, or at least they're mentioned, and that was exciting too. So I loved it. You get to learn all about dye making, more about the apostles who are coming to spread the gospel, and Lydia is the first woman in Philippi to be baptized. And so loved it. 5-star. All right, so the next one is The Healer's Apprentice, and I've recently read this one. It's by Melody Dickerson. This is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty. This is also Christian fiction. This follows a girl named Rose who is working to be the town's new healer. At least that's what she would rather do than just get married off to some guy her mom wants to have for her. But she doesn't like blood, which is bad because, part of that healing is dealing with blood. So she also is falling for Lord Hamlin, who is betrothed already. I love the German town feel. The Christian faith in it was also great. I liked how raw this character was written. She is definitely a young girl. Like, this is like a YA book because it's dealing with those emotions that a young girl would want, which is to feel, loved, accepted, and things that she does. I'm just like, don't do it. Like, come on, this is not the right thing to do. But she, like, there's that temptation, and it shows the struggles of, society and what young girls would do for love. And so I loved it. It definitely gave me like medieval vibes, so I liked that too. So anyway, loved it, recommend it. Talks about the will of God as well. So yeah, and it also brings up some of like the spiritual aspects too, but in a unique kind of way. But I liked it. I wasn't put off by it at all. It definitely like delved into some more spiritual matters. So okay, the last physical book that I have, it is Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott, and this is my pretty edition of it. It's got that foiling. It is got the letters. If you've seen my channel, you've seen these before, but like letters that were written to the characters by different characters within it. Little Women follows 4 sisters, and it's just all about them growing up, all of the different things that they go through. Very heartwarming, very heart-wrenching, very just sweet, and I loved the movie as well. I've seen the newer one, but I'm planning on seeing the older one. But I just love this. It was a great time. It was slow getting into, I'm not gonna lie. It's just older written books like this is really hard to get into and stick with. But once you start to develop a pattern of just training your brain to read some of the Old English, I guess, it just, once your brain kind of picks up on it, it just gets easier. And I enjoyed it. It's very like short story form too, so that's also something that I find that I don't really like. But again, once I got into it and started reading it and understanding it, I've enjoyed it. So this was also a 5-star. Okay, so the next book, I will put a picture up here. I heard this on audio, but it is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, and I also gave this a 5-star. I have finished the whole Chronicles of Narnia series, and I did all of this through audio. But this one, like I said, rated 5 stars. I enjoyed learning about the 4 siblings. It was wonderful with the Christian allegories. I think Edmund is my favorite character within the series. For those who don't know what this is about 4 kids going through a wardrobe into this land of Narnia, and you have Aslan, which is the king of the Narnians, and he is the Christ figure in this story. And I loved picking out the different allegories. I loved just that battle between good and evil. And it was just a beautiful picture painted of Christ and what he had done for us on the cross. So, okay, and the last book I'm going to talk about was Boo by Renee Gutteridge. And I loved it a lot. This is a 5-star book for sure. Boo is about a man who writes horror novels and then all of a sudden decides that he's not going to do that anymore and he wants to follow Christ. And the town that he lives in, where his books were based from, are not happy, and they're trying to get him to continue to write these horror books because that's what made their town famous. So they want to save their town. And it's just a quirky, funny book. It does have more so what it means to be and live as a Christian instead of just like you just slap that title on and say, yeah, I'm a Christian, and go to church on Sundays, but then the rest of the week, are you actually living that out? And so that it does bring up that. And then it just shows what true love is, like true followers of Christ, what it means to be in a community. And I loved everything about that book. Had me laughing out loud, and I am still in the middle of the Boo series, so hopefully all the other books are just as great. So the last portion, like I said, I'm going to name 5 new 5-star prediction books. And one of, I have some of them with me and some of them I don't, so I'll just pop up the pictures. But my first one that I want to talk about is Just 18 Summers by Renee Gutteridge and Michelle Cox. And I love Renee Gutteridge's book, like I just previously mentioned with the Boo series. So I found this at half price and thought, great, I cannot wait to read this. This is about 4 different families, and they each are in different stages of their life. You have one family who has kiddos. You have another family who are going to become new parents. Another family who are empty nesters, and finally one family that is a single parent. And so this talks about 18 summers, the summers they have with their kiddos before their kids are adults, and I'm expecting tears. I'm expecting this to be a heartwarming book, and it's just a beautiful cover. This is very nostalgic to me, just having summers outside playing, not like now where we're indoors and we can have all this different technology and stuff, but back when I was younger, it was before cell phones were such a big thing. I think they were barely coming out, or at least in my eyes, I barely saw like these nice cell phones and stuff, and kids just were outside playing, and that's what we did every summer with my grandmother. So this is bringing great memories, just nostalgic feeling. So I'm hoping that's a 5-star. The other book that I have is A Light on the Hill by Colleen Cassette, and beautiful cover. Love the clouds, and I love the spine too. But this is book 1 in the Cities of Refuge series. Let me go ahead and read the back of this book, and so y'all can get a better understanding of it. It says, though Israel has found relative peace, Mariah has yet to find her own, attempting to avoid the scorn of her community. She's spent the last 7 years hiding behind the veil she wears. Underneath her covering, her face is branded with the mark of the Canaanite gods, a shameful reminder of her past captivity in Jericho, and an assurance that no man will ever want to marry her. When her father finds a widower who needs a mother for his 2 sons, her hopes rise. But when their introduction goes horribly wrong, Mariah is forced to flee for her life. seeking safety at one of the newly established Levitical cities of refuge. She is wildly unprepared for the dangers she will face and the enemies and unexpected allies she will encounter on her way. That sounds good. So I'm excited to read this, and I've heard great things about this from other booktubers, so I cannot wait to start that. The next book I'm going to talk about is Unspoken by Angela Hunt. I have read Angela Hunt's Dangerous Beauty series. I mean, I've read like one book from that series, but that's all the Angela Hunt that I have read from. So this one I put on here because I heard Katie talk about how she cried because of just the emotion that she felt with this book. And if a book can make a person react that emotionally, it's worth looking into. And I think this was also from her 5-star predictions list. And so this is talking about a gorilla, and I love gorillas, one of my favorite animals. So I guess a gorilla is learning sign language, and that's all I know. So that's good enough for me, and I cannot wait to dive into that one. The other one I have is The Merchant's Daughter by Melanie Dickerson. This is the second in her Hangenheim series. I don't really know how to say the series name. That one I think is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and another retelling. Christian fiction, Melanie Dickerson. I'm there for it. I am excited to dive into that one. I don't really want to know so much about it. I do have a haul coming up soon at the end of the summer, and spoiler alert, this one already have gone. So, and the 5th book that I have is The Secret Keepers of Old Depot Grocery. And this is by Amanda Cox. And I kind of cheated a little bit with this one because this is actually part of my Books of the Year series book. It's on one of those, and it did win Book of the Year. So I figured I would put this one in slot number 5. But I did enjoy The Edge of Belonging by Amanda Cox. Like, I really did enjoy that one. That one was 5 stars. So I figured she might be an author that would be an auto buy. So I put that one there. And from what I know, it's dual timeline. So it follows a woman and her grandmother and her mother. And the mother wants to sell this grocery store, but the grandmother and the daughter both want to keep it. And I think there's some family tension, some drama. And then in the dual timeline, I can't seem to remember the dual timeline part, but I think it follows the beginnings of the grocery store and what it meant to the previous owners. But I don't really remember that part, but I'm excited to get to that book. Okay, so this video might be a bit long, but I just wanted to talk about those books, and hopefully these next 5-star predictions are all 5 stars. I think I did pretty well with the last one. I had only 3 of them that were not 5 stars, but they were really close to 5 stars. So I think I'm starting to understand what kind of books I really do enjoy. So I'm hoping these next 5 books are all 5 stars, but we will see at the end of the year. Anyway, I hope that you find some good reads, and if you have read any of these books, please let me know. If you think that I would really enjoy the new 5-star prediction books that I mentioned, I would love to hear from you guys on that too. But yeah, I'm hoping you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in another video. Bye guys.